welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, June 30th, 2021. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. A tropical storm watch is in effect for SVG for potential tropical cyclone 5 as the broad area of low pressure associated with a tropical wave has the potential to become a tropical cyclone during the next few days. A tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are possible across St. Vincent and the Grenadines within 24 hours. The SVG Met Services said at 5 p.m. the center of the disturbance was located near latitude 9.6 degrees north, longitude 43.7 degrees west, or approximately 1,195 miles east of the southern Windward Islands. The system is moving toward the west-northwestward near 21 miles per hour, and this motion is expected to continue with an increase in forward speed during the next couple of days. It is said maximum sustained winds are near 35 miles per hour, with higher gust. Environmental conditions appear gradually favorable, and the disturbance is expected to become a tropical storm tonight or on Thursday. On its present forecast track, the center of the system is predicted to pass near or over portions of the Windward Islands or the southern Leeward Islands on Friday. The Met Services said showers, thunderstorms, strong gusty winds along with rough seas are likely to accompany the system. Residents are strongly advised to stay informed with updates and advisories on the Tropical Cyclone 5. And the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, today released a fluid list of shelters for the 2021 hurricane season. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News, NEMO's director, Michelle Forbes, speaking, said changes to the list can be expected over the next month as details are being finalized. Some areas will see no designation of shelters, as according to Forbes, they are considered unauthorized for occupancy at this time.
Preliminary list. Of course, it will change as as things go on, as other shelters become empty, as if alert levels and persons start to return home to the different communities. So we expect it's going to be fluid over the next month or so in terms of the list of emergency shelters. So we are actually listing it as preliminary list of emergency shelters for 2021. It will not include those in the areas that have not been cleared to return home yet. So no shelters will be listed as yet for Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh, nor above the Rabaca. And those that are currently occupied by persons who have been displaced because of the volcano, those will not be listed as yet for the hurricane season. So we are continuing to work with the churches and work with the various other organizations that may have buildings that we can use. So it's fluid. So we continue as we move forward.
Forbes also advised residents to pay close attention to the updates from the SVG Met Services.
We need to be monitoring closely the second wave that is in the Atlantic. We don't know what it's going to do, so we need to be closely monitoring any alerts or any information coming from the Met Services, because over the next 12 hours in particular will be critical. We need to continue to monitor this system as approaching us and any system that is coming across, and really pay close attention to the Met Services.
The NEMO director also made an appeal for persons who are living unauthorized in the off-limit areas of the red zone. Forbes noted that as the country continues to experience high levels of rainfall, the probability of life-threatening lahars or mudflows in flood-prone areas increases, posing several risks to persons living in these danger zones, including the loss of life.
Appeal for persons who have gone back into the red zone above the Rabaca, and you should not be there. The area is prone to lahars, and these lahars have really heavy rainfall mixed with ash and materials from the volcano. Can include big stones, heavy stones that can come rushing down the valleys and the rivers. And if you're caught in its path, you can be hurt, damaged, washed away, or even killed. I really want to appeal for persons in those areas who are traversing those areas to avoid doing so. there's a lot of deposits, volcanic deposits that have been in the mountains from the volcanic explosive eruptions, and we had over 30 of them. So I'm really appealing to persons to really pay close attention to the flooding and the lahars in the communities that have been heavily ashed, and also the communities that we know traditionally has flooding, live near rivers and streams, to be extremely cautious over the next few days.
The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines authorized the return of persons to the red zone only in areas below the Rabaca Dry River in the North Windward region of the island and as far as Peterborough on the North Leeward coast. No all-clear has been given for persons to return to any other parts of the red zone. And on radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Alf Gonsalves said that preparations are being made in the event that there is a storm. He specified the relief supplies at Arnesville, which will need to be properly secured.
In a storm system, we're going to have difficulties out at Arnesville. Arrangements would have to be made to begin to pack up what we have there, the tents now, and put them in containers, put the stuff there in containers. Something as simple as that. So we have to be putting things in place for preparatory steps, and to indicate which shelters would be available and all of that. We haven't gotten the precise information yet because things are still uncertain. But today is Wednesday, and day after tomorrow is Friday. I mean, we'll still have time to give the information, and I don't want to sound any alarm.
The 2021 hurricane season began on June 1st, 2021, and was predicted to be an above-average season in terms of expected activity. As the country begins to feel the impact of the 2021 hurricane season, with some systems already developing in the Atlantic, Director of Forestry Fitzgerald Providence is advising property owners to ensure that all trees on their properties are trimmed. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News today, Providence said the Forestry Service has already been called out since the hurricane season started to assist with the removal of several trees which fell during heavy rains.
Ask persons to monitor, to look at the trees around their homes. Trees have an important role to play around homes in terms of providing fruits, providing shade and other values like that in terms of cleaning the air. But also they can become a conflict to the home during the hurricane season where there's heavy winds. So persons are encouraged to cut off overhanging branches over their homes so that it wouldn't, if they break, they will not damage anything on the home. Also, if you can take down branches that don't look too sturdy or strong, we ask that you remove them.
Providence said trees can pose a serious threat as they can fall at any time. He is therefore urging residents to cooperate with their neighbors, especially if they have trees hanging over their properties.
When you're doing your development of your home, you should also plan for where you're putting your trees, because trees play an important role, but they can also be a conflict to your home around, particularly in the hurricane season. If you have neighboring trees, you can, from your neighbors, you can talk to your neighbor about the tree, and if it's issue of safety you're worried about, you can call in, you can speak to your neighbor in regards to that, and you all can cooperate in terms of getting the tree down or getting it pruned back. If there's a conflict, because you can call the Ministry of Health and they would advise you in terms of what to do in terms of the position of the tree if it's from a conflict with neighboring trees around your home.
The forestry director, however, warned persons against dumping trimmed trees in gutters and rivers, noting that they can cause more hazards.
They're not your tree. And when you cut trees, cut branches, cut trees, do not put the debris into the rivers or streams or any waterway or gutters, because they can become a hazard in terms of becoming blocked, causing floods and damage, which we don't want. So you should cut them up as small as possible, and you can compost, or you can have have them removed where they can be disposed of properly.
There is no new lava dome growing in the crater of the La Soufrière volcano. That's according to volcanologist Dr. Adam Stinton on radio this morning. Persons have speculated that a new dome was growing inside the crater based on photographs and videos released last week. Dr. Stinton was in SVG last week for 3 days involved in the helicopter surveys carried out on the crater and said that while they were not able to get inside the crater, the photogrammetry was successful, which has helped in their assessment. He said that what people are seeing is what was left over from the 1979 dome and the 2020-2021 dome.
Essentially mapping the new crater and the features that we see inside that crater. It's safe to say there is no new lava dome present inside this summit, inside the new crater. There are some interesting features to be seen in the new crater. For example, I think there has been some talk of perhaps of a spine being seen. That feature is not actually a new feature. It's a pre-existing feature that's been, if you like, exhumed by the effects of the explosive eruptions. And it's actually the conduit that fed the 1979 lava dome. And it's essentially standing tall as a fairly prominent mass of lava that dates back to the 1970s.
Dr. Stinton added that not much changes have been observed since the last time he was in SVG as lead monitoring scientist.
Evidence of a lava dome. There's no evidence of any significant changes inside the new crater. Any changes that are occurring are a result of erosion of the slopes of the inner walls of the crater, caused by simply the loose material slumping down into the crater or being washed down by rainfall. So what we have is the maps that I am in the process of producing clearly show there is no new lava dome or any sign of lava dome growth inside this new crater.
The volcanologists said they were able to determine the size of the new crater, which now has new dimensions.
Based on the mapping work that I did last week, the new crater seems to be about 800 to 1,000 meters in diameter. So it's a fairly sizable crater, and it is up to about 200 meters deep. So as I said, that's a pretty sizable crater, and it's clearly excavated down below the surface or down below the level of the floor of the old summit crater. And it is still possible to see remnants of the 1979 lava dome in sort of the northeastern and eastern sectors of the rim of the new crater.
Meanwhile, the current lead scientist monitoring the volcano, Lloyd Lynch, said the weather is posing some difficulties in having more of the monitoring equipment installed.
Yesterday we started the upper Waterloo installation, and we made very good progress in terms of putting in the civil infrastructure. So the diggers, Rudy's Electrical, were finishing up the Greg's installation, which is another borehole seismometer. And we'll be going to that side later today after visiting Upper Waterloo to advance the concrete works that were done yesterday.
Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Saabs announced on radio this morning that his government will grant an extension of the barrel concession, which would have ended today, June 30th. The extension in the second instance helped to support the ongoing humanitarian relief efforts on the ground following the explosive eruption of the La Soufrière volcano on April 9th. The Prime Minister noted that details on the concession will be addressed in Cabinet today.
We will extend the concessions. I will have the information go out to the customs, and I'll have it reconfirmed today at Cabinet as to the extension of the period.
Okay.
But You know, Johnny P., we have been doing this since May the 1st, you know, last year.
The Prime Minister also pointed out that many Vincentians have benefited from the concession prior to the eruption of the volcano, as there were concessions granted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of Raheem Durham, a 20-year-old laborer of Glen, that occurred on Wednesday, June 29, 2021. The police say preliminary investigations revealed that the deceased was in the Glen Public Road when he was approached by an assailant and shot twice in the head. He was rushed to the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Persons with information pertaining to this investigation are asked to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crimes at 456-1339, that's 456-1339, or the officer in charge of the CID MCU CRO at 456-1810, that's 456-1810, or the officer in charge of the South Central Division at 458-4200, 458-4200, or any police station or police officer you are comfortable with. All information, the police say, will be treated confidentially. Meanwhile, the police say in relation to the death of Travis Hernandez, a 23-year-old bus conductor of Park Hill, they have arrested and charged Zane Lewis and Alden Thomas, both of South Rivers, with murder. In addition, the police say Lewis was charged with aggravated burglary and abduction. The accused men were arraigned before the Serious Offences Court today and were not allowed to plead to the charges. The cases were adjourned to September 28, 2021. Southern Grenadines MP Terence Oliver has expressed concern about the whereabouts and safety of missing Canoan fisherman Esley Martin, who was reportedly went missing at sea to fish since Wednesday, June 16th, and have not returned home. On radio yesterday, Oliver said that it breaks his heart that he is not hearing any updates about the efforts to find the missing fisherman.
Well, yes, calling for days now. I think I brought that to the fore last week, Tuesday, with you already, with this young man who was gone missing for, almost could be more than a week now, and still we haven't heard anything of his plight. Whether the Coast Guard went out searching and looking for him, I cannot verify all those information, but we do know he had left home without his cell phone, and somehow may have gotten into difficulties because once he's not back home. And these are just some of the issues we are dealing with.
Noting that from reports Martin might have went out fishing without a communication device, the Southern Grenadines MP said this continues to be a problem for fishermen, hence the importance for the authorities to provide those who cannot afford to purchase such a device with one.
It was said that he went out alone, going out alone without the communication devices to communicate once he got into difficulties. That is something serious. But our fishermen do need the correct resources, and also to that will be applicable to their safety.
Police Constable Dwayne Phillips is proud recipient of a Master's of Science degree in National Security and Intelligence Studies from the University of the Southern Caribbean, located in Trinidad and Tobago. Phillips, who hails from Chester Cottage, has over 13 years of service with the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, graduated on the 20th of June virtually. Constable Phillips noted that as a member of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Constabulary for over a decade, he recognized the importance of the security and intelligence gathering, and that he is eagerly looking forward to utilizing the knowledge acquired and the experience gained to contribute even more stridently to the country's growth, security, and developmental goals.